Hey, what's up everybody? Before we get started today, I want to hear what you think. I want to hear your solutions right down in the comments section. Tell me what you think solutions could be, plausible solutions for the forward-facing sonar controversy that is happening in professional fishing and across fishing in general right now. So I want to hear your solutions. Put them down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to talk about possible forward-facing sonar solutions from, that's right, I'm a professional guide, and yeah, I utilize the technology day in and day out. I am friends with a ton of pros on both tours, and I have never seen anything in our industry that has been filled with so much drama and controversy and has such strong, opinionated, emotional everything as forward-facing sonar. There are guys that are totally for it. There are guys that are totally against it. There's a bunch of guys, I think, that are in the middle, which I think you see with most things in the world. There's, you know, people on extremes, and then most people actually fall in the middle. But today, I'm going to be talking about what are possible solutions moving forward, because I do think in some regard, maybe it's a little out of hand. At the same time, I think it is an awesome tool and expansion of technology within the sport. So really, I think I've got 5 solutions, all of which I could see being very plausible that would, I think, personally satisfy both ends of the spectrum and make it in the middle. Now, I am talking specifically about professional tournament fishing, the Bassmaster Elite Series, and the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour. So the first solution is something like a salary cap. So solution number 1, I'm going to call it electronic spending cap. So electronic spending cap or salary cap. So in baseball, a team has, or in all professional sports, teams have, hey, you can only spend $200 million a year. That's your salary cap. Well, what I can see coming out of the forward-facing sonar deal is the leagues, whether it's BSS or MLF, limiting how much you can spend on your electronics, because some of these guys are running, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 units, literally 8 units on their boat, which is just totally insane, so expensive, so crazy. I definitely see the perception of how the average fisherman, the weekend warrior, goes, man, in what world can I ever compete if this is the sport of bass fishing? It makes it moderately unrelatable. I see that. So I could see them doing a cap. Like, let's say $18,000 is your max you can spend on your electronic setup, and you can spend it however you want to, right? So maybe it's a forward-facing sonar deal. Maybe you are a pro that really utilizes 360. Maybe you utilize side scan. Maybe you can't beef up on a $5,000 trolling motor. Maybe you gotta, you know, whatever it looks like. I think that some kind of salary cap or electronic spending cap is a plausible idea that could benefit both sides of the spectrum right here. So the next one, number 2, that I could see, it's kind of like the electronic spending cap or the salary cap idea. It's the limit of number of units. So here's the deal. I'm a guide. We run 4 units on all of our boats. Now you might think that's crazy. I have one that's specifically set up for side scan so I can see off both sides of the boat, and then I've got one that is for mapping, and then up front I do have a forward-facing sonar unit and one for mapping, so I can always triangulate where I am in regards to waypoints that I'm putting on my graphs when I'm side scanning. And then I have my forward-facing sonar transducer. I run a Garmin, I run a 16-inch Garmin, but I've got my LVS 34 up there specifically for that. So maybe it's limiting the number of units. I think that would be really fun. Maybe it's 3 units. You get 2 at the console, 1 up front, or maybe you get 2 up front, 1 at the console, whatever it is, maybe a limit of units. So number of units, which is similar to the spending cap, but different because it says, hey, you can have X amount of units regardless of how much they cost. Okay, so we've got 1, we've got 2, and then 3. I think limiting to one live transducer. So whether that's Humminbird, Lowrance, Garmin, you only get one live transducer. Now obviously those transducers can be both vertical and horizontal. So you have your forward facing and then the perspective, what Garmin calls their perspective mode, which looks similar to like a 360 imaging. But yeah, so you could do one live transducer, okay? All right, so we got our electronic spending cap. We have limiting the number of units, limit. I'll put limit there. And then one live transducer. I think these are all very plausible things. I mean, I think it's insane when I see guys, I do think it's insane when guys are like, yeah, I'm running a left forward facing and a right forward facing, and I'm running one on the trolling motor, and then I've got a perspective. I'm like, holy cow, 4 live. I'm like, that's just a little overkill. I like forward facing sonar. I think that's insane. Number 4 has less to do with the electronics and more to do with the tournaments themselves. So number 4 would be doing every other tournament is a forward-facing sonar tournament, or you can utilize forward-facing sonar, and then every other tournament, there's no utilization. You can't utilize forward-facing sonar. I think this is a great idea, but the logistics are a headache because now you're requiring pros to take live sonar off their boat, off and on all the time. I think that would be a logistical nightmare, not to mention most of the guys don't work on their own boats. They take them to marine places, so it ends up being really just annoying and really expensive. But you could say every other tournament, which, like I said, I don't foresee that being a deal. That's another one. Another solution was just limiting it for practice. Limit for practice. We talking about practice, like Allen Iverson, right? So limiting it for practice, which once again, you can utilize it during practice, but then when you go to the tournament, you got to take it off. Once again, logistical headache, unbelievable. I don't even think that's plausible, but for the sake of talking about it, I do think it is potentially a solution. And then the last thing is you don't do anything, you just let it fly. So number 6 would just be let it fly. I don't necessarily seeing that be the case. Here's the deal. There's a lot of people that are like, the viewership's down and I'm like, okay, time out. First off, whether you're looking at a screen like this or literally tilting your head 20 degrees and fishing, you're looking at the backs of the anglers the entire time. So the fact that it's more boring to watch, it's fishing. It's a pretty boring thing to watch, period. But, you know, like fishing's meant to be done, not really watched. So anyways, that's kind of my thought. I don't think 20 degrees of head tilt is affecting the boredom that you're experiencing when you're watching fishing. I actually think they are catching more fish. I think it makes them unbelievably more efficient. So as far as viewership goes, I actually think I enjoy watching it more. Now, I do think they should implement more screen and looking at the angler, so maybe anglers can watch and learn. Like, hey, they're using a specific bait, they see a specific fish, how are they utilizing it? So you can take it, adapt it, and apply it on your home waters. But I can see that. But the reality is, I actually think that these 3 right here are the starred potential solutions right here. So an electronic spending cap where you have a set amount that you can spend. And here's the deal, just like in baseball or any other professional sport, you can go over the salary cap, but you have to pay what's called an excess tax or a fine or something. So it's like, hey, sure, you want to go over your salary cap or your spending cap, it's going to be a penalty or a fine or something. I could see that totally being a rule. I could see an electronic company saying, hey, we'll freaking do it. Just like, I don't know if you guys have ever watched the Michael Jordan Nike movie. You were only allowed at some point in time in the NBA to have so much color in your shoe. And Nike said, hey, Jordan, we want you to wear these shoes and we'll pay your fines for you. I could see some electronic companies standing up and saying, hey, we want you to run as much as you want. We love it, whatever, we'll pay the fine. I'm like, that's kind of cool. that might be a thing, but I think that is a plausible solution. Also, the number of units I think is a real solution. I really think you can get away with 4 units. I actually think you could probably get away with 3 units or 2 units. I mean, here's the deal. I think it'd be a great opportunity as a challenge, just like, okay, I mean, listen, sports evolve and then rules have to evolve. Like, that's just naturally the progression, right? Baseball this past couple of years has had some crazy rule changes. 30-second pitch clock. A pitch clock in baseball, it's crazy. Ghost runners at second base. The game evolves and you have to strategically do what's best. But the reality is everyone has the opportunity right now to have whatever electronics they have on their boat or want on their boat. It's a level playing field. It's a free-for-all. They can do whatever they want. Thus, it's freedom, whatever. It's a level playing field. So thus, the cream rises to the top regardless. So anyways, I mean, that's kind of like the let it fly, do nothing. It's totally possible. And then once again, like I said, one live transducer, I could see that being a real solution too, and not necessarily limiting the units. But when you think about like what the units really do, you know, you have one unit up front. Some guys are running 360. You have another unit that might be live sonar. You have another unit that might be mapping. You know, that's kind of how I see it. But I think one live transducer would be an awesome middle ground to appease both sides. So anyways, here's the deal. The best fisherman is going to win Angler of the Year because at the end of the day, everybody is on the same body of water. Everybody has the same technology, and that's what it comes down to. But anyways, those are what I see potential solutions for the forward-facing sonar controversy. And by far, one of my biggest pet peeves, just me personally, is when people complain and they don't actually provide solutions. They're just complaining and spiraling, and they talk about the same crap over and over, and there's no real solution that really gets people headed to a North Star. It's just a bunch of negativity that ends up like a hurricane and causing a big mess. So for me, I'm like, hey, okay, if you're gonna complain, what are solutions? So here we are right now talking about solutions. I want to hear your thoughts. Comment down below. I want to hear what your solution is. I don't think banning, there's just no way you can ban it. I don't think that's a real solution. I think the electronics companies have too much R&D, research and development dollars spent in improving this technology, and they sponsor those tournament trails. If they ban that technology, you're essentially abandoning those sponsors to pump money into the sport. That ain't happening. I promise you that ain't happening. But I do think there's some middle ground. So anyways, I hope that you maybe like these solutions. Maybe they'll adopt some of these solutions. I don't really know. But here's the deal. I am sick and tired. I'm just being honest right now. I'm sick and tired of listening to people bitch and moan about this and that. And I'm like, dude, fishing at the end of the day was meant to go out, have fun, enjoy God's creation. And I'm like, hey, that's what it's all about. So I'm like, you're a professional fisherman? Hey, this is part of the game. You got to learn it. You got to adapt with the times. So anyways, that's my 2 cents. Those are my potential solutions. And yeah, give me your thoughts.